One of those I know that you have spoken with leaders on is succession planning, which is something that tends to get a little kick down the road until finally they can't ignore it anymore. So, what kinds of things are leaders struggling with, and how are you guiding them?
Succession planning is something that's needed in all organizations. You need to figure out what you're going to do and who's in place to do it. I remember when we were at Motorola and we were looking at our planning, one of the things we did was we had a group of people that we said, these are people who long range could go into the position. And this is the person who, if the leader gets hit by a truck tomorrow, this is the person we could slot in. And so we would have people, we would look and say, okay, for the tomorrow role, here's somebody. For the next year role, here's somebody. And for the 3 or 4 years down the road, we could start working with those people and start working with them on the development of skills necessary to be in the role. Part of it is that you don't always, in a lot of cases in organizations, unless you're at the top or one of the top couple, you don't really have a lot to say about who's in that slot. And so one of the things that I like to do with organizations is to work with them first, the top 2 or 3 layers, to work with them to help build that planning. That's in a normal corporation. But then when you get into closely held and family businesses, you add in the dynamic of it being a closely held family business. And so what are the elements that go into that on top of the training and the development work? Still has a lot of the same elements, but there are other layers to that cake that you don't necessarily see just in a regular corporation.
And I think that planning for the next step in the company is so big, because some of those people that you're talking to are ones that they can't ignore the statistics that say a lot of family-owned businesses, a lot of multi-generational businesses aren't going to succeed past, say, what is it, the 3rd generation?
And second to third, it's the 2nd to 3rd generation is where there's really a big fall off. The last time I looked, it was that 3rd generation and then the 3rd generation beyond. The 1st and 2nd, very high percentage. And then when you move to the 3rd and beyond, you get into almost single-digit percentages of successful, or at least that's what the historical numbers look like, single-digit percentages of success in transition.
I know this is probably hard to put it on one thing, but what's the thing that you see most common when they aren't making that successful transition from one generation to the next?
There's a couple of things I think that go on. Part of it is that they assume that the next generation really wants to do that. And often that's not really what the next generation wants to do, even if they've been in a position of leadership within the corporation. The other part of it is that as you go down and as you get further down in the generations, you often end up with more and more people. And so what's going on with the conflict, what's going on within the family? Are some members of the family still in the business, still involved in the business, largely because they're getting a paycheck and nothing more? And so it's just the factors that lead to lack of success, as with most things, it's lack of preparation.
Yeah.
It comes down to that.
Yeah. For everyone who would like to get a perfect introduction, just reach out to me, Dan at highcaliberbranding.com.